Oftentimes, people associate Super Bowl winning quarterbacks with superstars. Who can blame them though? Quarterback is arguably the most important position on a football team, so it makes sense that the best teams are led by some of the best quarterbacks. While that is typically the case, there are a handful of examples of a team winning a Super Bowl with a not-so-great quarterback at the helm. As the old adage goes, defense wins championships. Here are the worst quarterbacks to ever win a Super Bowl. Brad Johnson. In Super Bowl 37, Johnson was about as average as they come, as he completed 18 of his 34 passes for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns while throwing 1 interception. His Buccaneers were victorious and became Super Bowl champions thanks to their lights-out defense rather than his play. While Johnson's 2002 season in Tampa was impressive and ended in something special, he is viewed as nothing more than an NFL journeyman who had an up-and-down career. He played for 5 different teams, which was probably a result of his inconsistency. Some years he would look great, and others not so much. For example, in 2002, he made the Pro Bowl after throwing for 22 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Johnson followed it up by throwing 26 touchdowns and 21 interceptions in 2003. It was a similar flip of the switch that was seen after he threw 24 touchdowns to 13 interceptions in 1999 before throwing 11 touchdowns and 15 picks in 2000. Johnson was never able to cement himself as a reliable, great player in the league, but his claim to fame will forever be leading his team to a Super Bowl ring. Jeff Hostetler. Jeff Hostetler almost wasn't even eligible for this list, as 2 key moments changed his life. First, in a Week 15 game during the 1990 season against the Buffalo Bills, the New York Giants' starting quarterback Phil Simms went down with a broken bone in his foot, ending his season. As a result, the Giants were forced to turn to Hostetler, and all hope seemed to be lost for the G-Men. Prior to replacing Simms, Hostetler had only appeared in 2 games in his entire career. The second moment came in the Super Bowl that season, when Scott Norwood missed one of the most infamous kicks in NFL history at the end of Super Bowl 25. Norwood had a chance to win the game for his Buffalo Bills with a 47-yard attempt with 8 seconds left in the game. He missed it wide right as the Giants won 2019, making Jeff Hostetler a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Over his 15-year career, Hostetler only started all 16 games in a season one time, where he completed 57.8% of his passes, threw 20 touchdowns and 16 interceptions, while also fumbling 6 times for the Los Angeles Raiders in 1994. His career stats weren't that bad, as he finished with a career completion percentage of 58% and threw 94 touchdowns and 71 interceptions. But Hostetler never became a franchise quarterback. Doug Williams. Similar to Dilfer, Williams was not the starter heading into the season that his team won the Super Bowl. In 1987, Williams started only 2 regular season games for the Washington Redskins, who lost both of those games before leading them to a win in Super Bowl 22. Williams made history in the process, as he became the first black quarterback to start in a Super Bowl, let alone win one. He also won Super Bowl MVP as he was on fire that game, throwing for 340 yards and 4 touchdowns in a 42-10 thrashing of the Denver Broncos. If only the rest of Williams' career went like that Super Bowl game did. Over a 9-year career with the Redskins and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Williams completed only 49.5% of his passes and threw for 100 touchdowns with 93 interceptions. In 7 career playoff games, he completed just 40.2% of his passes, while throwing more interceptions than touchdowns with 11 picks compared to 9 touchdowns. All throughout his career, Williams struggled with accuracy, as his best completion percentage for an entire season was 56.6. Nobody can ever erase Williams' name from the history books for his memorable performance in Super Bowl 22. But that doesn't mean he doesn't deserve to be on this list. Jim Plunkett. Jim Plunkett actually managed to lead his team to Super Bowl victories 2 different times. His first came in the 1980 season, when his Oakland Raiders won Super Bowl 15. During that season, Plunkett completed just 51.6% of his passes while throwing 18 touchdowns and 16 interceptions. Although he was named Super Bowl MVP that season, Plunkett received a lot of help from his defense in the game, specifically linebacker Rod Martin, who picked off the opposing quarterback 3 times. Plunkett returned to the game's biggest stage 3 years later with the Raiders, who then called Los Angeles their home. Again, Plunkett was aided by a stellar defense, as the Raiders held the Washington Redskins to just 9 points in Super Bowl 18. It also helped that Plunkett was handing the ball off to an all-time great running back in Marcus Allen. During that 1983 season, Plunkett again barely threw more touchdowns than interceptions, as he had 20 and 18, respectively. Over his 15-year NFL career, Plunkett passed for only 164 touchdowns, while throwing 198 interceptions. Not exactly the ratio you're looking for in a quarterback. He also finished with a career record of 72 and 72, while completing only 52.5% of his passes. Trent Dilfer, the 2000 Baltimore Ravens winning the Super Bowl, proves that saying about defenses winning championships to be true. With one of the greatest defenses of all time, the Ravens took down the New York Giants 34-7 in Super Bowl 35. The Baltimore defense was so special that it didn't matter that the offense was led by Trent Dilfer. Heading into that season, Dilfer wasn't even supposed to be the starter for the Ravens, but he appeared in 11 regular season games and started 8 of them, while only throwing for 1,502 yards and 12 touchdowns with 11 interceptions. In the playoffs, Dilfer was nothing more than a game manager for the Ravens. In 4 games that postseason, he threw for just 590 yards. That's under 150 yards per game. But Baltimore didn't need anything special out of him with their stellar defense. Dilfer's main job was to just not turn the ball over, and he only threw 1 interception in those 4 games. In Super Bowl 53, he threw for 153 yards and a touchdown. Safe to say, he wasn't named the game's MVP. Even though he helped his team win a ring, Dilfer was so underwhelming that the Ravens let him go before the following season, making him the only starting quarterback to ever be let go after winning a Super Bowl. It wasn't just Baltimore who wasn't impressed with his play. Nobody else in the league even viewed him as a starter, as he was signed to be Seattle's backup in 2001. After that 2000 season with the Ravens, Dilfer only started more than 10 games in a season once, and that was for the Cleveland Browns, who have started more quarterbacks since 1999 than Dilfer has thrown touchdowns in a single season. Dilfer was out of the league by 2008 and finished with a career rating of 70.2 and a completion percentage of just 55.5.